everybody.
We're just trying to figure out why we're fuzzy. We're fuzzy again.
Sorry, we're fuzzy again. Yes.
Yeah, I'm looking here. This is terrible. This is unacceptable. Unacceptable. Do you hear me, Mr. Webinar Jam? We're gonna have to take a good hard look at this situation. Why, for the past couple of weeks, have we been so blurry? Our upload speeds and download speeds on our end are just fine. But it is Webinar Wednesday, and I know that the demo feed is going to be fine. So welcome, everybody. Welcome, one and all, to this week's Webinar Wednesday. Steve Dotto here, along with April, and we're blurry as heck. Blurry as heck. Oh,
no sound. Oh.
I don't know why I even bother putting on makeup.
Yeah.
No sound?
Hi, Joyce. Barry's saying no sound. Is anybody else here? Is everybody else hearing us?
Nope. We got sound.
Okay.
Sound is going. So, Barry, it's probably your speakers are turned down or turned off. I'm telling him like he's going to know. Maybe you can type that to him. Sounds fine in Tennessee. Are we blurry for everybody? My makeup looks fine. Yeah, thank you, Cheryl. Yeah, it sounds fine. Well, maybe they're telling us that we've got faces for video, for audio, and we should just start doing it as a podcast or something like that.
That's possible.
Right. So how's everybody doing? It's perilously close now to Christmas, I guess. April and I were discussing Christmas presents before. And there's a reminder April has is that to get Steve's Christmas present ordered?
No, actually, I'm pretty much done.
Good for you. Yep. Good for you. Yeah. Well, we're going to be a very low-key Christmas here this year. Hey, folks, I like what our topic is this week on Webinar Wednesday. It's something a little bit different.
It is.
All of the different health and wellness apps. And April fought with me because she thought my title was not sexy enough.
Well, this one was good. You had some challenges with some of this.
I just wanted to call it health and wellness apps, but she said nobody's going to sign up. So we finally came up with whatever the title was. But we are, sounds good, but really pixelated. Thanks, Jeff. I get you. I'm so on board with it right now. I'm looking. I've got a feed here that I'm monitoring right now, and it is pixelated as heck, which is frustrating for me. I have hardwired fiber into the wall here, and I just tested my speeds, and I'm 170 megabits per second both ways. April's 40 megabits per second both ways, well within the thresholds that we should be streaming in high definition to you. This is a situation which we are going to resolve before the start of 2020. We're going to be taking a couple weeks off over Christmas. Christmas falls on Wednesday. New Year's Day falls on Wednesday. So we have a natural break in the Webinar Wednesday cycle. So next week's webinar is going to be our last webinar of the year. And then we'll be back on January the 7th or 5th or 6th. What day is it? I don't have it up here. Anyways, we'll be back. I think it's January the 8th. This is going to be our first webinar of the new year. And we've already got them a whole bunch scheduled. So just to let you guys know, that's what's going to be happening. But I'm going to promise you one thing. We're going to come back and I'm going to have figured out this webinar thing, and we might well be using a new webinar platform come that time. Actually, we're kicking around the idea of converting this entire Webinar Wednesday and using YouTube Live, which does remarkably well for it. Now, we don't have quite as many social marketing tools when we do that. We don't automatically have your email list, your email address for the registration, etc. But it still might be worth testing out YouTube Live. I'm kind of intrigued by that. I haven't really thought it through yet. I pretty much, to be honest, started thinking about it when we were fuzzy again today. That's what caused it.
So,
no, it's not screen. Richard, it's not screen resolution because we've adjusted the resolution. We've got high res standard or low resolution that we can be feeding. We've played with all settings. Yeah.
So, because we're talking kind of health and wellness apps today, and as we approach 2020, do you have some new fitness goals, like 2,000 burpees this year, or like, what are your health and fitness goals?
For people that don't know, last year I did a burpee challenge. I don't know if you know what burpees are, but they're like jump squats.
They're terrible.
And I did 1,000 burpees to raise money for a good cause. I'd like to get back to that level. I've been doing burpees since my birthday. My birthday was last month, and I've been doing extra burpees every day. And I was doing 250 a day as I trained for that. And I do 25 now, and I'm exhausted. So I've got a long ways to go. I still work out all the time, but yeah, no, I haven't set any fitness goals. No, have you?
Um, well, I set new fitness goals back in so do we in October. I started doing these challenges. I have a spin bike here at home. So and they my challenge this month is every week there's like 100 of a certain thing. So last week it was 100 push-ups, which I have a long way to go. I did it. I did the 100, but I had to do it on my knees. This week it's
Oh,
squats.
cool.
And I think my challenge in the new year is I'd like to do more yoga
Oh, that's a good idea. Yoga's good
because
because it's also mentally
I need to
healthy.
stretch more.
Yeah, yeah, that would be good. I'd like to. I hate doing yoga, but I think that would be a good plan for me. I haven't really thought that far. I've kind of been focused on business plans, etc. So us get. We've got a whole whack of people in the room. Let's get on to the topic so that we don't waste everybody's time today. This week, we say, it's kind of a health and wellness app story, and I was really surprised as I did a deep dive just how many different products there are in this space. But I also know that I use very few of these products myself. I use a couple of them, which I share with you, and the rest of it mainly came from research that I did. So we're really going to be interested to hear what apps work for you because they're like in weight loss and in diet apps, there has to be 300 or 400. So hearing which ones work in your life and why is going to be really interesting. So I'm really looking forward to the input from the community today. It's a standard webinar Wednesday setup. We have the pre-recorded video, about 22 minutes while it's going on. We'll be in chat. We'll come out on the other side and we'll do Q&A through to the end. This week's webinar will be sent to you tomorrow in replay mode. It'll be available for 48 hours, and after that, it's available in our Webinar Wednesday archives for the exclusive use of our wonderful patrons. Dottotech, of course, is supported through the generosity of many of you folks through the crowdfunding site Patreon. We ask you to go to Patreon, support us in delivering the regular content that we deliver to you. And in return for that, for your support, we are able to continue to create content, and we have perks that we send your way. And the perks include access to all of these Webinar Wednesday archives. This is our 112th Webinar Wednesday. Holy cow, 112. And also discounts on all of our courses. And we've just launched Evernote Made Easy version 4, and our patrons get 50% off on that and our other courses. So it makes it well worthwhile. You get something out of the relationship, and we get a lot out of the relationship. So thank you so much to all of our patrons for your ongoing support. As I say, we will send out the replay right after. Next week is going to be our final Webinar Wednesday of the year, and it's a precursor to the new year and a little bit different. We're going to talk about digital decluttering. You do spring cleaning in your house, but our computers are full of crap, and our digital lives are full of crap. Well, Angela, my friend, has written a book on digital decluttering. She's going to join us.
Oh, and visiting next week. Nice.
Yeah, so digital decluttering. Yeah, it's kind of like a precursor to January, so you can start fresh.
I like it.
Start fresh. So that is the plan. So let's get into it. Let me get the video going because I did the whole video thing yesterday. So
the video will be clear for you, friends. So
sorry.
I said the video will be clear for them once you play the video.
Yes, it should be. Yeah, everybody's good. It better be. If it's not, we got bigger. If not, we got bigger problems, as they say. So here we go. We're gonna jump into the video. Self-help apps. We're gonna be talking health and wellness, diet, mental health, the whole gamut. And April and I will be in chat. We will see you folks on the other side. Oh my goodness, what a rabbit hole you dive into when you start looking at health and wellness and mental fitness apps. It is, there are a lot of them on the marketplace. And in order to showcase them for you today and to talk to them about them, I kind of broke them down into kind of general areas just for this purposes here. But recognize that there's lots of overlap between the different areas. So we've got kind of diet and weight loss ones, which are ever so popular, nutritional apps. And then there's fitness apps, which is kind of the 800-pound gorilla of the entire space. But the fitness apps often incorporate your nutrition in them. So there's crossover there. And then there's medical apps, apps that help with a purely medical side of the entire your life. And then there's mental health apps as well. There's ones that help us out mentally, and some of them are kind of almost spiritual, but helping on that side of your life. So what we're going to try and take a look at now is a cross section of those to open your eyes to what's out there and the kind of the flavors that you might be interested in participating in. There's no way we can do a comprehensive overview of all of them. So, of course, as usual here on Webinar Wednesday, I'm really going to be interested to see what apps you're sharing in the chat that are working for you. And I fully expect for you to open my eyes to many, many other apps other than the ones that I've discovered and we're going to share here. So let's start right now with talking about the technology that gets the information into the apps, because that's a big part of it. And so much of that starts right with this, with our watches, be it a Fitbit, an Apple Watch, these different wearable devices that monitor what we're doing and give us constant feedback. Now, I am going to be doing all of the demos today based on my iPhone, because that's the phone that I use, and I have the Apple Watch. But most of what we're showing you, you can quite easily expect the same capabilities to come from your Fitbit or from your Samsung Galaxy smartwatch, from any of the different wearables combined with the apps that are on your smartphone. Now, in the Apple world, because the iPhone it really integrates at an operating system level with the Apple Watch, there are really, I guess, two apps that are almost like anchor apps. The health app and the activity app, but primarily the health app, where all of your different information flows into, all of the different details and the data that all of the other health related apps, from sleep timers through to nutrition apps, they get all of the data as far as your physical activity and your habits from a connection to, in this case, the health app. And so once you've configured your watch or smartwatch, if you are indeed going to be using that, you can then go into the health app and you can see all of the different details of what you've done today. Now, there's a two-way conduit that happens. Three-way conduit. There's a three-way conduit. Your smartwatch is, of course, following you around all the time. It's constantly sending data into the health app. But the health app is also gathering data, say, from your smart scales, from Bluetooth scales, or just from being in your pocket and counting your steps. And it also gathers information from other apps like nutrition apps, where you're entering information about about what you've eaten that day, or the psychological apps, the mood apps that when you're saying how you're feeling that day, or the sleep apps that are tracking your sleeping. So there's information flowing back and forth into all of these different tools on an ongoing basis. So as you kind of cobble together your own picture of how you use these tools, your configuration will be very different from mine, even if we're using the same apps, because you're going to be looking at the data that's important to you might be different. It might be different than the data that's important to me. But here we see just kind of a summary that the app has of my day, and this is the key: is that all of these different devices send information into in this case the Apple Health app, and then it's then redistributed. That information is redistributed into our other apps. So this is where it all begins. This gives you a snapshot. Now, this doesn't give you targets and things to do, although, to be fair, Apple, with the Apple Watch, has this app here, which is their activity app, which talks to you about how much you're meeting. And these rings, all Apple users, all Apple Watch users know well. They tell you if you're meeting your goals for standing and your goals for walking and your goals for exercise for the day. And you determine those goals, and then these rings complete when you actually meet those goals, as well as they give you details of what you've done as far as your exercise or your steps for that particular day. So you're getting a lot of feedback. And all of this reporting back that these apps do, and that the watch does, and that our wearables do, has created this concept of gamification. Now, if you're new to the term gamification, it's where, by measuring what we do, we can create goals and objectives. We can keep score. That's probably a better way of putting it. We can keep score on how we're performing. And as human beings, we just, I don't know what it is in our DNA, but we seem to require affirmation and constant feedback in order to stay on course. We need to constantly be reassured that we're doing the right thing or that we're meeting our goals and objectives. So the fact that you can set some goals and objectives, be it diet, be it health and exercise, and that you can actually measure the real world, how close you come in the real world by wearing a wearable, that tells you if you took the steps that you were planning on taking that day, if you exercised the amount of time. And then you can look back and it's clinically telling you these days you made your goals, these days you missed your goals. So you only have yourself to be disappointed or yourself to be elevated by the fact that you maintained that you met your goals. I think for a lot of us, this is a powerful motivator that helps us actually work towards our goals and to stay on track, because we don't want to disappoint ourselves and we want to keep our good score going. We want to stay kind of in the game. So that's part and parcel of this entire equation is understanding what's happening with the gamification of it and how that has all pulled together. Let's now take a few minutes and let's dive into and take a look at what I think are these, now that you know how the apps all kind of fit together in the whole ecosystem. Let's take a look at what I think are the kind of the top of the breed apps, or the ones that have floated to the top that I like the idea of in our different health categories. And we will begin by taking a look at the weight loss and diet apps. And the one that I am going to share with you is one called Lose It, which I've known about for many years. I actually used it a long time ago. But what this is it is really a nutrition tracker. It's going to track how many calories you're taking in and how many calories you're burning to help give you an equation to help you move more rapidly towards weight loss and meeting your goals. Now, they pull information, of course, from whatever your your wearables, or whatever, in this case, from Apple's Health Kit. So it's pulling in all of the weight from my scales and how much, and my exercise from my smartwatch, etc. So all of that information is being amalgamated. And then it relies on the user, on you, to input information about what you're eating, what you're consuming. Now, it's got a big database of common foods. So if you're going to eat cookies, you can scan in a barcode of the cookie package and say you've eaten 2, and it's going to know how many calories are there. So it does a good job of making it easy for you to input accurately the number of calories that you're consuming. Plus, you can create your own foods, putting accurately how many calories are in it. And that is one of the premium versions. You can do that in the basic version, but all of these apps have a free version that allow you to try it out. But then if you go premium, they've got a much richer database and it makes it easier for you to input. You can take pictures of your food as you're going through to help. But the bottom line is that the more accurate the information that you gather, the more that you rely on and use this tool. You can see there's the ability to take a picture of your breakfast and to be able to add the foods that you're eating for breakfast. The more accurately that you put in this information, the more value you're going to get from it, because it's going to more accurately give you the feedback that you need in order to meet your goals. But the beauty of this, for me, is the gamification of it. Look here, if we scroll down, you can see how calorie bonus. Because it's integrated with the rest of the health systems, it recognizes that I worked out today, and this is how many for that workout I did. I didn't do that hard a workout, I guess. The workout that I did today, I get an extra 30 calories that I can consume as a result of my workout this morning. It wasn't the hardest workout I've ever done, I can tell you that. But nevertheless, 30 bonus calories. So the gamification, being measured, the kind of meeting and attaining goals, that is all part of it. So that is the weight loss app that we're going to talk about today. I'm going to love to see which ones you guys are using and which ones you guys are liking. But Lose It, I can say with great confidence from the people who I know who use it, is very popular with them. They like it a lot. So let's move on into the kind of the next one, which is the one that actually intrigues me the most out of all of the apps that we were going to look at today. And it comes from Under Armour. They bought it now, and it's called MyFitnessPal. And again, it's been around forever. And like the others, it's a freemium product where you get it for free, but then you can purchase to unlock extra features within it. And I think it's about $40 or $50 a year to buy the full version of any of these apps that we're looking at today. But it integrates again with Apple's with the Health Kit, and it gives you not just feedback on the exercise that you're doing and helping you move towards better exercising and meeting your exercise goals, but it takes that and it measures it in relation to how much food you're eating and how much you weigh, etc., each day, to give you a nice, complete universal picture on what you're dealing with on a daily basis. Again, so you can add all of the food that you're eating. It does, again, you're going to see very similar things to what we saw in the weight loss app, because they do cross over, one not over the other. But you can, create custom meals, recipes, your foods, a database. You can scan in barcodes again of existing foods in order to measure the caloric intake that you're having from consuming that, and it's going to give you a nice complete picture of exactly how well you're doing. And if you follow this religiously and you accurately measure your input and outtake, then you should be able to accurately predict your weight loss and work towards attainable goals in fitness, weight loss, or whatever it is you're looking at. So this app here, of all of the ones that I've looked at, in all, even not just from the friends that I talked to about MyFitnessPal, but the reviews that I checked out online, I think it's really developing a great reputation as one of the best apps out there for this purpose. Now, you're going to be inundated. As soon as you start searching for any of these apps, you are going to be inundated with ads in Instagram, in Twitter, in Facebook, in Google. You're going to be inundated with people who are trying to advertise to you their weight loss app, etc. And you're going to see a lot of them out there. But I wouldn't spend too much time looking at too many. I would look at the ones that are top reviewed, top rated, the ones that we're talking about today, and I would make my decision from that, and then I would pretty much just ignore the rest, because they all do very, very similar things. So now we've dealt with diet and exercise to a certain extent. The next one that I want to talk to you about, I find fascinating, and it deals with your mental health. And we're going to talk about a couple of apps from the mental health perspective. But we're going to start with this one here, which comes from a friend of mine who absolutely swears by it. And it's called Dailyo. And it sounds very pedestrian kind of in what it does, but he finds tremendous value in it, and it's helped him out dramatically. And so a lot of us who are struggling with maybe some various forms of depression, and we're looking for a mechanism for us to kind of measure and deal with and on an ongoing basis, just proactively create a record of how we're feeling about things. That is where Dailyo fits in. So what happens is Dailyo primes you and prompts you on a daily basis to tell you what you're doing, and it does it from a very simple level. You go into it here. You go into it and you say, it just asks how you're feeling. So I'm going to say I'm feeling good today, and then it asks what you've been up to. Now this is an editable screen. So you can say, I've been working, I've been walking the dog, I've spent time just relaxing, and I had a good meal today. And so you can edit these to change it to customize for what you do on a daily basis. But once you put in what you've been up to that day and your mood, that's all you do. And then it tracks and it recognizes how you're feeling based on your activities. And over a period of time, it will create a database of what activities you do when you're feeling best versus what activities you're engaged in when you're feeling your worst. And I think most of us can probably expect that we know what they are, but you might be surprised. And this proactively, I think all of these apps do two things. One is they report back and they might give us some insight that we didn't have before. But the other thing they do is they make us conscious of what we're doing, because we have to measure. We're saying, I'm feeling good today and I'm doing these things. And you recognize that these are the things that you're doing. And you also perhaps recognize what mood they put you in. And so you maybe prepare yourself differently, recognizing that it might be something that you are less comfortable doing, or something that typically puts you in a bad mood. So you just make sure that you're in a good space and understanding that this is a challenge for you, but you're going to get through it because you have to do it. So there's a variety of different ways these can help us. This is a very simple app, Dailyo, but the people that I know that do use it swear by it. Now, also on the mental health front, there are two other types of apps. Now, I haven't installed either of these apps The first you probably seen advertisements for, and I don't know how I feel about an app like this. This is the most expensive thing we'll talk about today, but for I think $79 to $99 a week, is it, or a month? You can end up with a therapist. Oh, from as little as $260 monthly for unlimited, from $319 monthly for premium therapy. So this is for you to talk to a licensed therapist using your smartphone. So you can do video conferencing calls, but you can also just access them through texting. And so people who find a lot of support or need the support of a therapist, your traditional of going and visiting your therapist in their office on a day, on an appointment schedule, that's not necessarily when you're feeling the most stressed and when you feel you need access the most. So this creates an on-demand environment that you can talk to and deal with a therapist. The reports that I've read, I don't know anybody doing this personally, and maybe somebody does in the chat. But the reports I've heard indicate that in the right environment, this is a good service. But I don't know personally. It does seem to be a creative use of it, and I do appreciate the fact that people who want to have a relationship with a therapist to help them work their way through issues, that typically speaking, that issues don't arise based on the convenience of the schedule when you're talking to your therapist. They arrive when life puts those issues in front of us. And maybe that is the absolute best time to be able to have an interaction with somebody who stabilizes you and helps put you on the right track and helps to give you perspective. So there we have the therapist app called Talkspace. Now, a little more of a personal nature. And this one, again, several of my friends really, really like this. I'm not a meditation person, but Headspace is this meditation guide, which again allows you to do almost micro meditations. You don't have to go and do the whole 1 hour thing of getting prepared and getting the room and all that sort of stuff. But you can try Headspace and you can do short little meditations all the way through to longer ones, setting the amount of time that you want. And if you do find meditation helps you in your mental health, in your energy level, in your productivity, a tool like Headspace is incredibly convenient right on your smartphone and well respected, and it's certainly well reviewed by the people who I know that have been using it. So that is Headspace. Now, the next one that I'm going to talk about, I can't talk about any one app, because the next space I'm going to talk to you about is taking all of the personal health to the next level, and that is doing doctor visits, doing online doctor visits. Now, where I live here in British Columbia, we've got several services that we can sign up for here that allow us to do a call to a doctor for things that we really don't need to be in the office for. So if you have prescriptions that need renewing, you can set up and it's a Skype call, like Skype-like call, depending on the service. So you sign up for free with this service. You request a scheduling. They get back to you by text or by email or by video conference as well. And they get back to you and make sure that you're all prepared and you know what's involved in doing the call. And then at the appropriate time, you are connected by video conference to a doctor. Now, they have to have access to your medical records and you have to give permission back and forth as far as that goes. But they can issue prescriptions. They can renew prescriptions. They can order things like blood work, etc., to be done. So a lot of the things that you go into the clinic or you go into the office and you sit around waiting for, where it can be simply done verbally, is being taken care of by this app. Now, it's in a secure environment. There's a visual component to it where the doctor can see you as they're talking back and forth. But if you stop and think about it, this to me is a genius use of this technology. I'm sure there are a lot of issues that we should be concerned about as far as getting medical help online. But from a positive perspective, you're not sitting in a waiting room with a bunch of people with the flu when you're going in because you need your prescription renewed. You're not sitting there in a waiting. If you are sick and if you've got a flu yourself and you recognize what's going on, you're not there infecting other people by sitting out there as well. How miserable you feel as you're going there to see a doctor. Obviously, for things like injuries and things where the doctor has to poke and prod you, this is not going to work. But where it's just where you sit down and you have a quick conversation and they say, okay, here's what you need, renew your prescription, get this blood test done, and let's see what they say from that. It is a time saver, a money saver, a resource saver, and a sanity saver. I love the idea. And the last ones that I'm going to talk about, I'm not going to show you any of because I don't know which ones are good and which ones are not good in that space. But there are medication trackers, and those that can be where they remind you when to take your medication. Very valuable. But where the real value comes in, I think, is when we're dealing with aging parents. When we've got kind of the sandwich generation of, our parents might not be really good at remembering to take their medication. So creating some sort of an interface where mom or dad has to, gets an alarm and has to acknowledge the alarm that they are supposed to take their medication. And if they don't acknowledge the alarm, you are notified. I don't have any examples that I'm going to share with you of those apps because, as I say, I don't know which ones are good or bad. And it's fairly critical that you make a really good decision if you choose an app like that. But that capability and that capacity is a real blessing for people in that situation where you do have people that can forget their medication. Heck, if I'm even on antibiotics, I half the time forget. So creating a reminder system that creates a proper audit trail of when medication is being taken and when not, very, very valuable. And there's actually physical devices that even get to that point where they will actually dispense the dosages of medication on an ongoing basis to make it easy for people to stay on track. Because if you've got a cocktail of medications that you take, I imagine it can be very difficult. And if you do have any confusion issues or something like that, it becomes that much more critical. And those are the people that, of course, can least afford to make a mistake. So that's a look at some of the just kind of the health and fitness apps that I found in my research. Looking forward to hearing what you have to say about these apps. And I just want to get through today we're back. We are back.
Guys. Oh, really blurry.
Really blurry. Steve needs a meditation app to calm down for the blurriness. So for the people that were asking, the reason that it's so clear when we're running the pre-recorded is I pre-record the demo the night before. The reason we do that is so that we have good quality on that. And then I compress that video and we upload it to YouTube. And we're actually streaming it from a video service like YouTube. It can be YouTube or others. But that's why while we're in the chat and we're streaming the demo, that's why it looks so good. And I look so good in it. See, I had to do my makeup last night for that. We've had the most interesting chat I think we've ever had as the conversations bounce around and go back and forth during this. Well, thanks so much for the feedback. A couple of quick thoughts that were being mentioned. I completely should have mentioned, you were talking about the critical care. One person commented on how your local clinics, you can check what the wait times are in the clinics and I think book an appointment. Here in British Columbia, where I live, we can also, when I have my blood work done, we have a company called Life Labs is where all of the blood work gets done here, but they have an app, they have a mobile app, and I go into it and it shows me all of the ones in my area because there's ones in every community. It tells you what the wait times are in each, and you can just hit a button and put your name into the queue. So if it's 15 minutes wait time and you're 10 minutes away, you can get in the line right away. And when you walk in, they got a big board and your name is on there saying Steve is getting his, is a mobile check-in, they call it, which saves me because I get my blood work done every 3 months now because I'm old. It saves me 15, 20 minutes every time. Plus, there's not that stress. I hate going to the clinics. And there's that stress as you're driving there going, how long is the line going to be? How long is the line going to be? How long is the line going to be? Whereas now and it tells you. So I like that.
So do you have HIPAA in Canada? So like, does it give you a number or does it have your name on the screen?
HIPAA, isn't HIPAA the privacy component of healthcare?
Yeah, but I don't know if that's in Canada too. Like in the US, they can't display any of your name on a screen. So like if
we do have the privacy laws, but it just says Steve. It doesn't have my last name or anything. It just says mobile check-in. And then as you check in, they have your medical number and all of that information.
Got it.
But yeah, it does have your first name.
Got it. So it was interesting too because Lose It people were talking about some of the different apps. A lot of people like Lose It. And then you have the keto lifestyle, right? So there's a whole
Yeah.
bunch of
And I
um,
stayed away from any apps that were specific for individual diets. I've been playing with one for intermittent fasting because that's the fad diet that I am currently doing. And
you
so I
get Liz
stayed
on
away.
that too. Liz is
Sorry,
doing that. Liz is
is
doing
she?
that too. Yeah.
Uh,
Did you
I
guys
didn't.
collaborate?
No, no. But I like it. I like it because won't get into all too much detail. But I as I've aged, I don't. If I eat late, I think I'm like, I recognize now why we used to make fun of the diners that have the 5 o'clock meals for seniors. If I eat after 5 or 6 in the evening, I can't sleep well. Don't laugh at
That's
me. Don't laugh at me. I
hysterical.
feel I feel frail and old as a result of this, but I don't sleep.
Oh,
And if I go to bed a little bit hungry, I sleep great. So I've started intermittent fasting so that I eat so that I cut off eating at like 5:30 or 6 in the afternoon, and that's it. I had nothing else until noon the next day. And it gets kind of touch and go. If you talk to me at 11 a.m. in the morning, I'm a bit hangry. I got to admit,
I don't know
but
about
it's been
that
good.
too. I gotta think. Yeah.
It's I
Hmm.
like it. But so I didn't talk about those diet apps. I didn't talk about apps that do for the carnivore, what do they call it? Paleo diets or low carb diets or any of that sort of stuff because they are out there. God, sorry. I,
Oh,
I
that's
are you okay
funny.
today?
Yeah, I'm fine. It's been an interesting conversation. And well, you just said what did you say? Carnivore?
Carnivore
Carnivore.
diet, yeah, with the
Yeah, yeah,
paleo diet. Well, it's meat,
yes.
right? It's
I'm
all
fine.
meat all the time, really.
It is. Yeah.
It's delicious,
My
but
Fitness Pal. What do you think if all your health, so of your health and wellness apps, which ones do you use the most?
okay. I use Apple's activity monitor and Apple
Yep.
Health, and I put in my when I get my and I sync it up when I do my blood work. So because I am not diabetic, but I guess pre-diabetic, so I'm constantly watching my A1C to make sure that it's in the range. That's
Yep.
where I am health wise. So I'm always looking at those details and I'm importing them in. So I watch the Apple one, and so that one there though it pulls information in from my Bluetooth scales when I step on in the morning. It pulls information in from my exercise from the Apple Watch. So I just use Apple's Health Kit and look at the numbers myself. But having prepared this webinar today, I like what I see with my Fitness Pal. I really
I
like,
know.
and somebody commented that they liked about Lose It, and MyFitnessPal has the same thing. The ability to use barcode scanning to scan in foods to more accurately measure the caloric intake that you're going to get from those foods. And although I've never done that, I like that idea. And I think the reason that I haven't ever accurately measured the food is A, it's not fun. And whereas if you're doing the barcodes, it'll be fun. But B, it just seemed like too much work. And I think that they are trying to make it less work. And if they do that, there's a good chance that I'd use it more. And I like all of the answers. Like I like to see how much I can eat as a result of my exercise, and
Right.
it's humbling. Like 30 calories, really, like half a cookie from an hour workout. Okay, well, I it
I
makes me
didn't
think.
know I didn't know you could do that on the Apple activity thing. Like I'm more I watch my workout, calorie burn, my heart rate, and then I'm like always challenging myself to I don't know, it's kind of obsessive though. Like I
Yeah.
feel like
Well,
you
that's
could
the
be obsessive.
gamification of it. That's the
Yeah.
beauty of it. And that is the gamification of it. I had a point that I was going to share about the. One comment was that they wanted to know how much more they could eat based on the calories. I just heard a news report yesterday that the United Kingdom is considering new food guidelines, packaging guidelines, which is going to tell you on the guidelines not just how many calories food has, but how many hours of exercise you have to do to burn off that food.
Oh, that could be bad for certain brands,
You know
right?
what? Well, you need context. I mean, if
Yeah.
you stop and if you just see a raw number, then you have to do all of the translation in your mind. But if you look at a bag of potato chips and you realize that bag of potato chips is 45 minutes of cardio, that might be good, but you also
Yeah.
might go, "Oh, I could probably do without those chips because I know I ain't doing 45 minutes more of cardio today."
Right. Right. Well, and I think it also, I mean, different foods, even though they have higher calorie counts, it might be easier to burn a banana than it would be to burn, you know what I mean? Like comparatively.
And
Um,
Diana's making a great point here. She says, "But it's going by. It's going to vary based on your own body composition, how fast you burn." And that
True.
is one of the points that I made earlier in the demo as well. Is that when you look at these empirical numbers, when you look at the measurements, they're fine to start, and they're a curiosity to start. But I don't necessarily look at them as measurement. I look at them as a comparison. So I burn, say, 600 calories in a workout. I don't think that my 600 calories, an hour of working out, I don't think that I'm going to burn the same amount of calories as you're going to burn in an hour. But I'm going to know that I'm working harder if I go to 680 calories, and you might be burning 400 calories in an hour because that's your setup. That's how much you weigh and your physiognomy. And so for you to increase, if you go to like 450 or 460, you compare yourself to your own baseline as opposed to comparing yourself with what that number is. Does that make sense?
it does. It
Yeah.
does.
So that's the beauty of having the record that all of these apps bring to the table.
Chef Dennis was asking, have you ever heard of the Virgin diet? This is a real diet by a woman whose last name is Virgin.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So you've never heard of it?
Not for a long time.
Let's see. Shannon uses YouTube for meditation and exercise videos.
Yeah.
Apps more often than not give you the basic nothingness that want money out of you. But that doesn't mean I don't like exploring them.
All of the apps that I showed, we have to think about why people are creating them, and they all have to have a freemium thing. There has to be a way for these companies to make money. They're not making them for the public good.
Right.
With the odd exception. I mean, some of the mental health apps that we have in Canada, for example, that are focused on suicide prevention and stuff, yeah, those apps are free, but you recognize them. But things like a weight loss app, what's the benefit to the company that's selling it, that's delivering it, unless we contribute to their bottom line somehow? So typically speaking, for the ones that, but you're looking for a lot. So one like a Lose It or a MyFitnessPal, they're usually in the neighborhood of $3 to $5 a month is what they charge.
So Rich is making a funny, I think. It's called the I am on the Trump exercise plan. When my step gets to 5,000 steps, someone has to carry me after that. Shannon's making a great point. We need to do much more research before just jumping on calories and macros for our apps here.
Well, and the two fitness apps that we recommended kind of coming out of this, I think, and what you mentioned, Weight Watchers, there's some that have been through that have been through the tested well over time. And MyFitnessPal and Lose It, for sure, they've been around for 4, 5, 6 years and are doing strong. So there's a reason. So they're based on good advice. They're not fatty.
Right. Well, and I like the Weight Watchers one, although it's a paid app. What they have in there is their own. You know how Weight Watchers, you go to the meetings, so you can choose. You can have the app and go to the meetings too, or you can just do the app. And with the app, they have an online community within the app, so you're actually like talking to other people, accountability. They have it based on age groups and all of that thing. So they really try to make it so you stay with them.
And something I've never participated in is the accountability side. A lot of people like to post how much they're exercising, and they create a publicly accountable profile, which is some of them will even share the results from their scale every morning in different social platforms, which I've never really felt that
Never.
was.
No, I don't even share my weight with my husband.
There you go. Fair enough. So consequently, but there are people that like to, they almost use this competition, and we see it, even though they're being fairly heavily beaten up over their poor choice of political correctness, and is people like Peloton that create an environment. Well, I think you do a spinning app, don't you? Where you go into a community and you spin with others, and there's a certain competitive factor to that as well.
That's the challenge, is because they make these Facebook groups. We post a picture. We have to document the class we took. Yes. So yes.
Yeah. Got it.
But for some people, it makes sense. Chef Dennis was saying in some of his cooking classes, he actually takes up to 3 students at a time to a grocery store and spends 3 hours in the store to shop for the best things things for their
Oh,
particular diets. What a great business model.
that is good. Excellent.
um, Artist is saying, have used Insight Timer for years. Love it, and a ton of meditations are free. Then they have some courses. My favorite, $5, a 10-day sleep course that puts me to sleep every night.
Okay. So Ty commented that online therapy, going back to the online therapy comment, is growing, and it's also being supported now by workplace benefits, which is interesting.
Oh,
And that's part of, I wonder if that's also what we're seeing with this is I commented on it, is part of our need for immediate gratification. That we aren't willing to wait for an appointment, or in that the ability to be able to text a therapist is kind of what our society demands today. And so I haven't ever used it, but obviously the fact that it's growing and these companies seem to be well funded, and if plans and health benefit plans are seeing a value in it, there might be quite a bit to it. There might be they might be a really good idea.
Thomas, these are great apps. I've actually used them. Map My Walk, Map My Run, and Map My Ride. Apps are excellent for health.
Yes, and there's some that have also made that games where I remember there was one where you try to cover every road in your community, especially if you're a walker or a bike, and it maps where you've been, so you kind of cover and you blanket the entire area. So again, the gamification becomes a big part of it.
I used when I did the Ragnar race, where it was a 24-hour running race with 12 other people. I'm not a runner, and there I can't remember the name of the app. I got to look it up. But what it did was it actually trained you to run. So you would put in your mileage of, if you're going to do a 5K, a 10K, you're going to do a marathon, and it actually would play where you'd run, then you'd walk, then you'd run, and it would get you up to the mileage so you could meet your fitness goal.
Got it. And Thomas is commenting as well that all of these apps integrate with Lose It. I think we find that that integration, and I try to explain a bit of that story, kind of coming in the Apple world through the Apple Health Kit, where you give permission to the different apps to talk to the other measurement apps, where your watch and the steps are being counted, but that is being transferred into Lose It or into MyFitnessPal, and so to give you a complete snapshot. So you probably don't need all of these apps. If you're going to be just focused on weight loss, an app like Lose It is probably going to do quite well, and it does talk, measure your how much exercise you're doing, but it's not encouraging you to do exercise and giving you exercises the way that MyFitnessPal does. And MyFitnessPal doesn't necessarily concentrate as much on nutritious food. It does give you the ability to measure and all those sorts of things, but maybe it's not going to be doing as much meal planning. I can't say for sure since I've not bought the premium version, but it's kind of what is your why in the working out that, or in the health app that you're choosing, and then how is that going to resolve? Which one is going to fit best for you? But I think you can lose a lot of time playing with all of these apps. And I see, and the other thing you have to just totally gird your loins for is, as soon as you start looking at them and researching them and doing searches, you're going to be inundated with ads. Since I did that, since I started prepping for this, I've had, I don't know how many Noom. Have you seen that new weight loss thing?
I tried it.
I'd like to hear what you thought, but I've had so many ads for them because I indicated an interest in weight loss apps. All of a sudden, Noom is my best friend. They have spent a ton of dough on Steve. I can tell you that. So, how did you like it?
I didn't like it. I felt like it was too much work for me.
Yeah.
I programmed it. So I have one of my girlfriends, she had breast cancer, and so she was trying to change lifestyle, like significant, like no wine, all this stuff, and so she was advocating for it. So I tried it, and she was my kind of like, hey, stick with it, but it was too much for me. Like, I need something that's simplistic, that I don't need to be.
You have to hold on a sec. You keep talking. FedEx is here.
I don't know. So I tried Noom. I thought it was very expensive for the amount of accountability that I had to keep on the app. It was like $30 a month or something crazy like that, where I feel like Weight Watchers, although it's work, it's same accountability and significantly less. Diane, Couch to 5K is a great app. I've used that many times. Let's see, what other apps do we have here? You guys are talking about. How about one of the things that you didn't talk about, Steve, was they have all these also recipe apps there, where you can
Oh, yeah.
do recipe cooking from your phone, literally, or your iPad in the kitchen, and find a whole bunch of recipes.
Yes. Yeah. And they all do. Yeah. That's and obviously fantastic for that. Couch to 5K, if you want to run, is great because it gets you started and it times you. And those companion apps, the running ones, the ones, and the other thing is the technology that you choose. A lot of us think you have to take your phone on the road with you to measure everything. But if you have an Apple Watch or a Galaxy Watch, you can use those. It'll do everything, even not connected to your phone. And with most of them as well, you can also set up your Bluetooth earbuds and load your podcast or load your music onto your watch. So you don't have to carry your phone, which is something that I really like as well.
Right.
So what do we got here? We got Runkeeper. Yeah, that's a big
Yeah.
one. Sparks Recipes and Pixels. Shannon has mentioned several times. I think that's the mental health app that's very similar to Dalio that we
Yes.
show. Yeah. And we will, of course, send as many of these as we have written down, and we'll try and capture all of them in the follow-up email that we send out tomorrow with all of the replay.
I don't think we have any more questions. We did definitely go through the apps here.
Oh, Joanna's saying she's wondering how accurate they are. It said you took 5,000 steps and you're on the couch knitting the entire time.
Yeah.
It could well be.
The only thing that I will say is a lot of these apps I don't think are completely accurate with tracking your steps. There's no way.
No.
There's no way. And I see it probably even in the activity app, because when it shows my movement, but like really when you're cycling, I feel like I'm doing more steps and it doesn't ever account for that.
Yeah. Diane's husband is a professional percussionist, and I can imagine.
Awesome.
Yeah, my brother got one of the early Fitbits or something, and he used to, when we're up at the Caribou, he'd be riding the ATV and would be bouncing around, and he'd be coming back to the cabin and be saying, "I did 17,000 steps." They go, "Oh, you did not, Rick. You rode the ATV for 17,000 steps. You took like 8 steps to get out and put gas in it at one point." So yeah, but I mean, the thing is, with all of this, is it makes you aware. At the end of the day, probably the most profound thing that all of these apps do is not the measurement; it's the awareness that you think about it. You think, oh, and you know what? In those days when it's 8,500 steps and it's 8:00 at night, and you were thinking about watching another TV show, having a cup of tea and some cookies and going to bed, or, hey man, if I just go on a walk, I'll hit my 10,000 steps. That's the blessing. That's where you go for the walk, and it does your health and your heart and your mind some good. And so it's the awareness of what we're doing, getting us outside of ourselves and aware, just kind of aware of what we're putting in. And I would say the negatives outweigh the positives by a long shot. But in the health and wellness area, I think that this is one area that it does, I think, do us all some good. So that's it.
That's funny. Diane said, I've not eaten something bad because I knew I'd have to log it and lose it, right? Accountability it's accountability to yourself.
Yeah. That's so once you sign up, that's that commitment you're making to yourself, and it helps you stay on track. That's it. Let's call it let's wrap it. Let's wrap it up.
All right. Shall we? Sounds good.
Blurry Steve and Blurry April are gonna go. I have a ticket in already with Webinar Jam. I know we have a few other people that have commented on their issues with Webinar Jam. We'll get to the bottom of it, or we will be testing out other webinar platforms come the new year, which is beautiful. I mean, one of the nice things about this particular format is we could easily use 4 different webinar platforms in the first 4 months next year and test them all out and give you reports back. It's all good value. So I'm not against doing that. We've done it in the past. We might be doing it again. April, thanks so much. Next week, final webinar Wednesday of the week. Keep your eyes peeled for tomorrow, the replay with all of the links. That's it. till next. Did you notice, by the way, when the doorbell rang that Farley didn't explode? Because Farley's at doggy daycare today.
Yes.
There was a lot less excitement here. A lot less
Where
licking.
will you let us know what they come back with, Steve?
Yeah, I will. I'll certainly fill you guys in next week. Well, we'll be using this tool next week, so we'll see. All right.